Think of, from the experience side, think of what if you charged admission to walk into your place of establishment? No matter what you are, you probably don't. But what if you did? There'd be some expectations there. So think of unique, compelling ways, scripted, genuine, not fake, but scripted ways that you can exceed people's expectations. And there's almost 1,000 moments, interaction moments, that you could script something that are one of those wow moments that are different. So if you think just because you provide goods and services, that's enough today, I think you're going to be behind the 8 ball if you think that's enough. It's going to take some unique caring and some unique scripted experiences that blow people away. And that's just part of kind of what we do, whether it's the way you enter the store and the smell or your office to the way you're interacted with.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new edition of the None of Your Business podcast, super special edition. We had to modify out the set because we had to boot off Lacey. So Lacey had to go away because we have 2 guests today. I think this might be the first time ever that we've had 2 guests. Is that the first time? All right. First time with 2 guests. We have the Arbuckle generations here. We have Kim Arbuckle and we have Kurt Arbuckle with us. We're super excited to be sharing with them because obviously through experience, through transfer of knowledge and wisdom, there's so much to be shared here in this episode. So I'm going to start off with where we always start off with each and every episode. And I'm going to send this first question to Kim, which is, how do we end up here? And the reason why I ask you that is because all of our guests come from a diverse background of all kinds of things. And all of our guests are wildly successful in whatever it is that they do. It is easy for a viewer or a listener to be like, yeah, well, great. That's because your dad was Warren Buffett, or you were born super rich. You have all of the advantages that I don't have. But what we end up learning is that our guests actually have stories that are very similar to all of our stories. And so I'd like to start with that. Like, how does this whole story begin for the 2 of you? How do you end up where you are in business?
Well, first of all, thank you for having us, sincerely, Junior and I. I don't know. I think since I grew up, it's all about experience. And I oversaw the Americas for a small speaker company called Bose Corporation for a while, who taught me a lot about business, but taught me about the art and the experience of being different and the ability to differentiate yourself. And so that's what we've all about. And when I heard about you and Lacey, what you do, intrigued me, certainly. Thinking, can you teach an old dog new tricks? And the answer is absolutely, because you've taught me a lot about different aspects of business and the way you treat people. But I've been lucky enough to have my son involved with business since, I don't know, probably 15 years. When he was in the Kelley School of Business at IU, I said, you better find a job right out of college because you're not going to work for me. And I think you worked for the banking industry for a while. And then I was lucky enough to bring my son into the business, and it's been a unique ride since then, for sure.
Bose was your first job?
Wasn't my first.
What was your first job?
It was what's now called Duke Energy in the energy business. So that's what I did for the first 14 years of my life.
What were you doing with them?
I was, when I left, I was the head. There was 2 divisions in our company, and I was the head of sales for one of the divisions.
Okay, so you started to cut your teeth on sales.
Absolutely.
Then do you go from Duke to Bose?
I went from there to a bit of a entrepreneurial spot in a home building. The toughest 3 years of my life. I knew that wasn't what I wanted to do. But I was
selling homes?
I was president of a construction company, all the way from selling to the actually running projects and things of that nature.
Why was that the toughest?
Oh, my goodness. I'm telling you, that was back in the mid-'90s. Okay. I learned about expectations of people and how important it was to truly understand what expectations are and to be able to deliver. And if you didn't understand what their expectations were and you thought you knew, you're likely wrong. So I learned a lot and cut my teeth about understanding expectations at that point.
Then?
Let's see, and then I went to work for a startup company, a gentleman out of Iceland. Thor Daniel Hjaltason was his name, and it was a signage product, actually. That was a wild ride for about a year and a half, I can tell you that. And then from there, I went to work for a buddy of mine that I grew up with, and he oversaw a very large company. He was becoming the president of a family business, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to become the president, and I want you to come in and do what I did." And so we did that for a year and a half, and I developed some kind of unique processes, and through that, Bose found me and said, "Would you be interested in working for us?" So that's how I got to Bose Corporation.
What'd you learn from Duke Energy to Bose?
Well, a ton of things, because I grew up pretty fast during those eras. I think I understood people. I understood how to treat people. Certainly during that process, some of the best lessons you have are the way you've been treated in a positive way, and then from your managers or those people around you when you're not treated how you hoped it would be, and you learn from those as equal as you do the good things that happen. So I think through that, I became a good people person and a way to motivate people and truly care about people. That's always been important to our family, I think.
And then are you still at Bose?
I am not.
So what happens after Bose?
What happens after Bose, since I led a division for the Americas for them for audio, I started an audio-video integration company, commercial side, not residential. So today we're in 32 countries. We've done business in globally 32 countries in all 50 states. And so it's national account business. So if you go into a LA Fitness or you go into a Hooters or an Abercrombie and Fitch, Hollister, those kinds of global brands, likely we've done the audio and the video in those stores.
That's where Kurt comes in.
That's where Kurt came in. Absolutely. Some like 14 years or so ago, probably.
14 years ago.
Yeah.
So you go to Kelley School of Business at Indiana University, and you work at a bank for a little while.
Afterwards, yes, worked at Purdue Federal Credit Union for a little bit.
Went to IU, and then worked at Purdue Federal Credit Union.
I lived in West
Okay.
Lafayette. I
All
know.
right.
Yes, that's true. But before that, I kind of consider my first job is that we did a Dippin' Dots franchise
Yeah.
up at the Lafayette Square Mall, and that's where I learned. I don't want to say I learned more during that than business school, but I might have learned more doing that than business school.
Was
was
it like
important,
was it actually like a brick and mortar Dippin'
We had
Dots?
a
Like,
kiosk right in the center of the
kiosk.
mall. Yep.
What'd you learn
How long
by
did we have
doing
that? 5?
Oh, we had a number of years. But yeah, I wanted the kids to understand the art of business, dealing with people, the good and the bad, how to exchange money, all those kinds of
Simple
things. for
accounting,
business. Yeah.
inventory, the boring stuff, but then more importantly, the customer interaction, no doubt. And Dippin' Dots comes with some expectations and typically comes with a lot of joy. But it also comes with a higher price tag. So as a young kid having to deal with adults wondering why they're paying $6 for a cup of ice cream, that was very valuable. And then from the hardworking side is going to events and setting up shop and working and selling and finding out what it really feels like to be an entrepreneur.
So after the bank, you go on to work with your father. What role do you play in that business at that time?
At that time, we wore a lot of hats. There's really just 3 of us to start, but we first started. Our first customer was Abercrombie and Fitch, doing their international growth.
The 800-pound gorilla.
First customer.
800-pound gorilla in the audio business from a retail standpoint.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So managing that started in London, in the UK, and quickly spread throughout Europe and throughout Asia. So I was the one traveling and meeting our partners, starting the relationships with our global partners, and then making sure that our partners were meeting the expectations of our customer and putting that through from start to opening. I actually, for maybe 5 years straight, attended
On the road.
95% of every Abercrombie and Fitch or Hollister store that opened around the world. And with that came high expectations of dealing with CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch.
C-level people all the time.
And I was very young. I was early 20s.
Wow.
And there are a lot of moments where I grew up pretty quick. The Abercrombie and Fitch way is very specific, what they wear, how they act. And when you are working with a 80-year-old man in Germany who's owned an audio video company for 60 years, and I'm a 23-year-old kid in flip-flops telling him how we have to handle this, I learned a lot pretty quick. It was fantastic.
Do they all look like Abercrombie and Fitch models?
In the store? Absolutely. Oh, you mean our guys?
Our guys, no.
No, not our guys. No.
So that's a steep learning curve. You learn that. How has your role in that company developed since Abercrombie?
Yeah, so we learned pretty quick that if we could build an international network of technicians, then we knew that we could take the Bose model in the United States of having a technician everywhere. We knew that we could go grab those national accounts. And so my primary role was not only developing the expectations of our technicians around the world, but developing our processes leading up into service. Anybody can install a store, and what separates us is we will install and service it for life. And so building that service department was a very crucial role. So that led me into all kinds of roles from project management, sales, and then overseeing service, I think, was probably the most important thing that I did.
One of the things that is interesting, so you have audio visual, and I'm not sure how you incorporate this, but you guys also do Sense.
We do.
Is that under the same umbrella?
Well, that's a good point. That's a sister company. When you see opportunities, you take advantage of that. So if you're an experienced company, which what we are, we know retail, restaurant, hotels, fitness centers, all those vertical markets, they're going to have audio and they're going to have music. And so music is not something that's free. ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC, they require that they get paid for all their work. So we provide music content, we provide digital signage, and we also provide scent. And that's a unique aspect of if you've ever been in a Ritz-Carlton, and that's kind of how our relationship from the scent side started, Sean, is that it can be a powerful driver. A lot of us remember one of my first scent recollections is a cherry tobacco that my grandfather, a pipe that he smoked. So we all have those senses that are very powerful. If you can create that, it's just part of the overall experience.
Experience, brand recognition.
Yep.
Actually, just the other day, we were in Dad's office, and he opened a box that had a watch from his dad, my grandpa.
That's crazy.
And we could smell my grandpa.
I haven't opened that for 10 years, and it was a watch.
And
It
immediately,
had a leather band, and I just looked at it. I hadn't seen it for 10 years, and I smelled that band. It's the craziest thing. I go, smell this. He goes, smells like Grandpa. It's my dad.
That's what it does.
It's just amazing what smell and scents can do. And yeah, that's funny you brought that up. That's just happened a couple days ago.
So the sister company, another vertical, the audio component, not the equipment, but now the music.
Yep.
And the sense. Tell me first about the music. The music is like curated, like what a lot of business owners think is, and this is always an interesting discussion. It's like, well, I use Spotify or I use Pandora. And that's not correct.
It's not correct.
Legal, technically.
Not legal technically.
If you get away with it, I mean, there's commercial that you pay for, but if you're trying to do it off your iPhone or something, just hope you don't get caught. And chances are you probably won't. But the large corporations are not going to take that chance because if they get caught, it's going to cost them a lot of money.
So then they're listening to curated music. Is it curated for demographics or by music genre, or how does that work?
Yes, it's what is the experience that you're wanting, and your brand is in your office or your business establishment. So it's a lot of listening skills, asking questions, and so it's important for us to understand our customer's customer. So if we understand our customer's customer, we can bring that value to you as our customer. We got to listen. What's the vibe you're wanting? Whether it's Sinatra music, depending, or whether it's hip hop. I mean, it's a whole range of whatever that is. So we've got people that we represent from a dealership standpoint that know that business and can work that.
And the client can introduce their own messaging into what the people are listening to. And so this sounds ridiculously expensive because you had mentioned, well, if you're a big corporation, you're going to be cognizant of that. Is it something that would be affordable for our average listener, somebody that's a small business service, maybe a dentist office? Is this something that they should be or could be looking at?
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to let Kurt respond to that, but I can remember when we first got involved in this business, some of these people were paying, let's say 800 stores around the country were paying $120 a month per store. It's a different world now. So I'm saying probably likely $20 a month,
Yeah,
20,
in the
20 to
$20
30,
range.
depending on what you want, is all it would be for
And you get the peace of
customized
mind.
music.
You get the
Yep.
peace of mind that you're compliant, you're doing it
Absolutely.
right. So tell me about the scent. So what are you just like? Is I guess I get my car washed. They run the car through, and the lady always says at the end, like, "Hey, do you want some air freshener?" So is that what it is? Like it's pine, cherry, orange. So how does this leather
We could
new car
boggle your
smell?
mind with the number of scents that are available and actually almost confuse you. So as you and Lacey did for your Black Diamond Club, you scent, you smell some and see this is us. This is the brand that I want represented when people walk into my store, my office, or my establishment. So from that, we develop a monthly program, and it's very reasonable actually.
Same more or less price point. What does that look like?
A little bit more, yeah. You can
A little bit more.
monthly.
On average, 119 a month
100
is
but
what's sent, and that is a commercial product.
yeah, that's important. So like,
right.
is it because here's what the next thing people think is like, you have a little diffuser and it's that's not what you're talking about.
That's not what it is. There's a range of devices depending on the application, everything from something small to plug in to something that's going to go into the HVAC system. We have a cigar bar that is a huge piece to that puzzle, is a scent that helps eat the smoke smell. So if you go to a casino, there's scent in the casino. Even if you don't smell it, it's playing a purpose.
Oh, it's like the counter. It's like white noise
Yep.
to eliminate, so
Right.
you can have a scent
Essentially, yep.
that will eliminate the
Correct.
cigars.
Done correctly, it's not
cigarette.
just like lipstick on a pig. It's not masking a smell with smell. There are scents that actually break down the tobacco molecules. Some people aren't aware of that. Smart people are aware of that. But then there's locations where you don't need to get rid of the tobacco, but it's just a smell that smells embracing and it smells good.
One of
First
the
thing
things
you notice normally when you walk into an establishment.
Yes. Well, that was
Right away.
that was what I was going to
Ritz-Carlton
say.
for one thing, and we have a story behind the Ritz-Carlton, obviously in this.
Well, I was going to say too for clients of mine that have engaged in the scent, who do surveys with their clients, focus groups, client satisfaction. The number one thing, literally, the number one thing that they talk about is the scent, which on one hand, you could be like, that's great. That's, I'm happy about that. On the other hand, a lot of people wish that they would say the number one thing is the service that I provide. But what they most notice and take note of is the scent. And yeah, part of that too is branding. Ritz-Carlton, Abercrombie and Fitch has a very
Absolutely, they do.
distinctive scent, and they utilize that. In fact, Abercrombie and Fitch does it very aggressively. You can smell the store coming,
Yep.
right as you're walking in the mall. Is that
They double dose it. They not only have scent through the HVAC, through
spray it.
units, but they're people on all the clothes, not on individuals' clothes, but the clothes in the racks.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
spritzing.
That's awesome. If somebody was interested in connecting with you guys relative to the music or the scent, how do they go about doing that?
The easiest way would be our website, oneglobalds.com. The number one global D as in digital signage, digital scent, ds.com/BDC. And then that's where we've got our scent programs, our radio program, but also just a Calendly to set up a discussion to be with us. We very experience-based and relationship-based, and so we care, and this can be a very subjective conversation, but we like to think that we become experts in it to cater to the customer's to our customer's customer. And we've been agnostic to, we've installed systems all around the world, and so we were agnostic for a very long time on what content provider we would use or what scent provider we would use. And our partners now are our partners because they're unique and world class. And for instance, if you were going to, it's at least what, $3,500, $5,000 if you want to play your own music in a commercial setting.
Probably.
With our partner, we have that capability to curate your own playlist within that $20 to $30 price range. That, and then our relationship with our scent partners is we are only one of two companies in the world that can sell what we sell. And so we set ourselves apart from a world-class standpoint. And as much as that info is important, us connecting and helping you understand what you need is just as important as well.
Yeah, controlling what your clients are hearing, putting your messaging in there, controlling what they're selling, absolutely critical.
Agreed. Think of, from the experience side, think of what if you charged admission to walk into your place of establishment? No matter what you are, you probably don't. But what if you did? There'd be some expectations there. So think of unique, compelling ways, scripted, genuine, not fake, but scripted ways that you can exceed people's expectations. And there's almost 1,000 moments, interaction moments, that you could script something that are one of those wow moments that are different. So if you think you're, just because you provide goods and services, that's enough today, I think you're going to be behind the 8 ball if you think that's enough. It's going to take some unique caring and some unique scripted experiences that blow people away. And that's just part of kind of what we do, whether it's the way you enter the store and the smell, or your office, to the way you're interacted with.
So obviously, too, you mentioned earlier you have a cigar bar, you have the entrepreneurial bug. So you're involved in a lot of other things. What are so we have the core, the AV, we have the sister company, the music and the scent, and then all of a sudden we start getting all this spillover.
Yeah.
What are the other ventures that you are involved in that excite you?
Well, I'd be remiss if Blend Cigar Bar, we have 4 of those locations, partnering with 2 other people. One store's in Nashville, one's in Houston, the Woodlands, one's in Pittsburgh, and one is here in Indianapolis. In I think 17, we were voted the best cigar lounge in the world. And that's because of the experience and the service. A lot of places have cigars, a lot of people have alcohol, but it's the way you couple all of those to an experience. You're very familiar with the restaurant, Prime 47 Steakhouse here in Carmel. I'm just a small piece of that. There's some great ownerships, and led by Jeremiah, who's a managing partner and kind of the brains and the operations, about great people, great service, great manager. That's what makes Prime unique. I'm just kind of like the idea guy. I'll ship some ideas to Jeremiah. I go, what if we do this? And he may throw them out, or he may go, okay, that's a pretty good idea. So you got steakhouse, you've got cigar lounges. I've got a small trucking business. Trucking's kind of a good thing to be in these days. And even with an excursion company where you buy a couple 10-seater Mercedes Sprinters and rent them out. That's another small little business that couples in with the steakhouse. We've got a weapons detection business for large venues. That could be life-changing. And those are some of the things that you and David Meltzer have talked about as things that you can really do that change people's lives. So if you can protect people at large venues or schools from the bizarreness that's going on in this world today, then maybe you've added something special to society. And then recently with the, and that you very well know of, the robotics business, Arbuckle Pringle Robotics, which is an interesting aspect of, that's brand new. We're just venturing into that world.
And that's an interesting space. So the robots, I've always thought it's a great idea, slightly controversial. And the only way it's controversial, though, is because, look, we're entering into this automated world. We talk about there's this line, this automation line. And the idea in business is we always have to be above the automation line. The automation line is creeping up, though, because every day technology becomes more and more able to do the things that we as humans used to, one, be able to do and be paid for that activity. And so obviously from an efficiency and a financial standpoint for companies, all the way back from, the assembly line and automating the assembly line with robots, taking a lot of humans off of the assembly line. One would argue that also making it more effective, more efficient, and more accurate, potentially in that case more safe, less mistakes, et cetera. But then there's that flip side of like, well, but then we're taking jobs away. We also have the bizarro argument that sometimes has been launched by people in the government of, well, then learn a new skill, whether, it's not substituting a robot, but maybe changes in, mining or things like that. And how do you guys reconcile that? Let's start with that just principally as a 30,000 foot view. What are your thoughts on like where the technology is going and what it means to society, good or bad, indifferent? What are your thoughts on that?
Like your 37-year-old here.
Yeah. So we're an experience company, right? So our job and our passion is to help the customer experience be as good as it can be. And so this isn't meant to take, okay, let's take the food delivery, for example, okay? Yes, our robots can fully deliver food to a table autonomously. Everything can be done where the customer knows what to grab. But right now, especially in today, labor is very hard. Labor shortage is no joke. And so instead of thinking of the robot replacing a waitress, think of the robot constantly delivering waters to table and able to, a waitress calls a button, calls the robot over, puts the dishes and everything on the robot, and now the robot takes it back. And now your waitress is focusing on you as a customer, making sure your experience is right, upselling you on food, drinks, desserts. Now the experience is better and you spent more money. That's the thought process.
And we're finding out servers are going, bring it on. We love it. I thought at first they'd be like, no, stay away. They're embracing it.
Right.
Love it. I love it. So tell us about these robots. What are they? What do they do? How do we begin to integrate them into our world? For our users or for our listeners and viewers, they want one. How much are they? Are they $2 million? Like, tell us. This is all brand new.
We'll certainly sell you one for
And we're in. It's interesting format. We're in a video, but also audio format. And so people are like, yeah. Do you mean like they're like mechanical human beings? What is the robot?
Right.
Yeah. Think of them with the base of a Roomba that everyone's familiar with.
Yep.
And then think of a 3.5, 4 foot tall R2D2 closer looking kind of thing.
Okay.
But they are fully autonomous and fully capable of, this isn't all of this comes back to Pringle Robotics, which who's our partner, and Sudhir Saja, who's the visionary and genius behind it all.
He's a genius.
He is. And so these are fully autonomous robots that are 100% safe to be around people. They are smarter than you realize. They're not a Roomba that's bumping around and trying to make its way. They are smart with LiDAR technology. They know exactly where they are. And the software in the back end, think of it as the robots are a physical robot, but the brains behind it, think of it as an iOS system. So you've got an iOS system that has hundreds, if thousands of apps, which means applications to integrate with software like Epic, maybe the biggest software in hospitals and healthcare, fully integration. So working with nurses to automatically have medicine delivered at the proper time. And then also from a cleaning and disinfecting world, that's a world that already exists. And now we have taken a world of trying to create a robot to help, and now we have the fully autonomous, prepared, and already deployed solutions to not only have massive ROI on labor and cleaning products, but something that's smart enough to fully integrate into processes. This isn't something that you press play and hope it does something. This is an integral part of the business. This is part of the process. It integrates with software, integrates with elevators, fully autonomous, and it has all kinds of applications from food delivery to cleaning to industrial delivery to
Revenue generating. That's cool stuff.
revenue generating with marketing. That will be the most popular in shopping malls and airports around the world. Imagine walking through and a robot knows that you are a 50-year-old man and you have.
You looked at Sean when you said 50-year-old.
I am a 50-year-old man.
Yeah, I didn't want to
You
say.
guys just
I
right
didn't
on.
want to say 70 and look at you. And it knows, and so now it's going to direct that marketing towards you and push you towards something. So the applications are pretty endless. This is very new, but it is a product that's not new to the world. There are 7,000 of them already sold in Asia, and that's a culture that embraces that technology and wants that technology. And so as we bring that over to the United States, we are learning where we can add value, save money, ROI, and certainly change the customer experience.
One of the things I love the use case is, for example, in hotels.
Yeah.
So utilizing room service, I can order room service. So I may not actually need to talk to a human, but in most cases, I'd probably pick up the phone and talk to someone who would take my order. And a human would make my food. But then once it was created, they could put the food into a robot, and it has a lock box. So now it's locked.
That's right.
The robot then can transit to my room, and then I could get, because it won't knock my door, but I would get a phone call.
Or text message.
or text message to my cell phone, and it would say the robot's outside your door, or your food is outside your door, and the code is 1234. And I would open my door, and there would be a keypad, and I would type on the robot my code, which would unlock
Correct.
the door so that I could access my food. And what that does is somebody else didn't steal my food. The robot just brought it to me. I mean, and that then allows the hotel to be more efficient,
Absolutely.
service more people, provide that experience, and get that food delivered. That's an incredible use case. It could be done this way in anything where there's service, especially if it's done at a distance. You're at a VIP suite in a stadium, and so the food preparation is far from the suite, so they can just send that without somebody trying to navigate and work through, which then is my next question. Like, so if the robot's in a crowded field, you said it's not like a Roomba where it's bouncing. Like, how does it navigate a bunch of people?
The LiDAR technology and the software behind it is fully aware of its surroundings at all times. It's autonomous in the sense that it knows where to go and it can do specific tasks, but it takes it to the next level of it always knows its surroundings. And the Bella bot, which is the food delivery bot, is actually voice interactive. It's like a kitten. And if you pet the top of its head, it'll purr and act like a cat. But it's actually very polite. So it'll stop, it'll slow down, say, excuse me, and it will interact via voice if it's trying to get through, just like a polite person walking around.
Another use case is disinfecting. So environments where we want to maintain, I'm not talking about cleaning, like cleaning the floor, but disinfecting the space.
Well, the floor cleaning robot is coming in Q3 or Q4.
Floor cleaning robot is
So it will
coming.
be there, but yes.
So now that is a fancy Roomba. Disinfecting, how does that work? How is it going around and disinfecting?
So it disinfects the air and surfaces in two ways, with UV light, which is a practice performed in surgical rooms all across the country already. And so instead of somebody going in and waving a UV light around, hoping to get the surfaces, this is an autonomous planned robot that goes in the correct spots to make sure it gets the entire room from an air disinfectant and then a UV light. So all surfaces are hit and gets 99.9% of disinfectant done.
So that's super useful as well. So what's the price point? Is this something like you have to be, are we talking about giant hospitals? Or again, for our viewers, our listeners, is this something that it would be for them? Or are we a little ways away before it becomes practical and like a single or double robot use? Do I need to order 100 at a time? How does that work?
No, like a wise man once said, I think the price is the best part. The Kedi bot starts at $9,500 MSRP. And the most expensive is that disinfectant UV light hospital of $48,500. So there are lease options, which obviously makes it a lot more attractive to get into an OpEx budget as opposed to a CapEx. So it's extremely reasonable, especially if you go with the marketing side. And a big focus is to generate revenue as well, and it offsets that very quickly.
How heavy are they?
Anywhere from 60 to 100 pounds.
So I could take this with me if I was doing an outside exhibition. Let's say I was going to, like, I was an exhibitor at a show. I could have these robots going around my booth and displaying
absolutely.
my material.
We were at the National Restaurant Association and had them running around as well. We were in a convention room for some reason the past couple of days and had them running around as well. But absolutely, they are fully remotely serviceable as well. So we can have a customer say, hey, we added a new POS station to pick up food or drinks. We don't need to go there, reprogram. We can do all that remotely because we have full access to not only service, but to help integrate more into your process as we learn. And so, small restaurants are crucial. It integrates with DoorDash as you have orders come in and come out, integrating with POS. Once you have that integration element, it feels endless on the capabilities. And so it really can be super catered to any process or customer, big or small.
Love it. And where can people learn about the robot?
ArbuckleRobotics.com.
ArbuckleRobotics.com. In the sense?
That oneglobalds.com/BDC.
Lastly, to wrap up here, what do you think is in and we have two varied time frames, but in your time in business, the biggest lesson that you have learned that you want to share with the viewers and listeners today? Biggest piece of advice you'd give to somebody in business?
Be a good listener, care about people, There's a saying that I guess once you've established credibility, people don't care how much you know; they want to know how much you care. And I hope innately you can do that genuinely, because I think people can sense if you're not sincere. Care about other people. Think things take care of themselves. Listen.
Awesome. And for
Yeah.
you?
I say this constantly, so I'm not saying this because you're here. Number one, join BDC. Number two, follow Dave Meltzer on social media, read his books. And yeah, it's about making a lot of money and doing that so that you can change a lot of lives. Some people feel guilty on being successful, but our goal is to be successful so that we can change lives. It's about people, it's about relationships, and we don't have a lot of time here, so doing it together and being happy is important.
I love it. I love it. Well, I know that you guys have enriched a ton of people in this time together, made a massive impact in their lives. I'm really encouraging you to reach out to this phenomenal father-son family-run business and duo. As Kim was sharing, to listen and to care and to think about experience. I think that if you do reach out to them, you will see firsthand how these two gentlemen are walking examples of what they're talking to us about today. Thank you guys so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Sean.
Super
and Lacey.
appreciate you.
Sorry,
Thank you,
Lacey.
James, over there, genius. Awesome.
James, our producer, off camera there. Thank you guys for watching each and every week. We super appreciate you. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your reviews. We are very deeply appreciative for all that you bring into our lives, even though you may think that you're only on the other side of your headset or your screen. We know you're there, and we value our relationship with you. We're going to be back again next week, just as we always do, with some brand new, phenomenal guests. I don't know if we'll have two. Got a hard act to follow here, but we'll definitely have one. And if we have one, we'll bring Lacey back, I promise. So don't miss out next week. Until then, thank you for tuning in to this most recent edition of your None of Your Business podcast. We'll see you next week.